Music matters. Rubber.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for doing this.
I'm happy to be here.
Rubber's a fun name to it rolls off the tongue very well. Rubber.
It often turns heads. People are like, wow.
Really?
You named Rubber, and I tell the story.
Why is it? Tell the story. That's a good way to start off.
Yeah, I feel like people appreciate knowing, like, what the hell, why are you called Rubber?
Yeah.
So I was going by my name, which is
I'm gonna
Andrew
move these real
Roper.
quick. Go ahead. What were you saying? Sorry.
I was going by my name, which is just Andrew.
Uh-huh.
But I, was just starting my career. We were living in Philly and going down to Nashville to do some recording. And I was in the studio, and someone offered me a spot, like, opening up for them at a local show in Nashville. And they're like, you need a name. Like, don't go by your regular name. Like give us something else.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine. Like, we have to think about it. So we just, like, went home, watched the movie Rubber, which is about a tire that comes to life and kills people with its mind.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that movie.
And
that actually got brought up on this show before because, another artist brought it up.
But yeah, we literally were like, okay, so there are no other Rubbers on Spotify. Let's go, and we just named it after the movie.
It's a good one. I feel like I love one word names. I think people get way too carried away with like the.
People can't remember more than one word.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Like, give me that one word that has like no actual meaning, but it's like it just sounds cool, you know?
Exactly.
So how long ago was that? Like were you making stuff before you started the Rubber Artist Project?
So I've been making music for a long time. Like, I've been writing and singing for a long time, but I really didn't think that it was going to be something that I pursued professionally until around like 2018. Mm-hmm. That's when I was just about to graduate college. I got my degree in economics and was like gonna go get my PhD and teach. Like, that was my plan for my life.
Teach economics?
Teach urban studies.
Oh, okay.
But slight pivot.
What's urban studies? Sorry to cut you off the story,
but urban studies is essentially like the intersection of economics, policy, like political science, and social science, like sociology, and anthropology,
Makes
and
sense.
I guess architecture too. But it's kind of how like all of the research and the data and the policy, how that intersects with like people's like lived reality in an urban setting.
Cool. Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I wanted to get into was holding policymakers accountable for like, what they're doing and like, are these policies working? If not, how can we make them work? Yeah. Because I feel like there's a lot of talk about, oh my God, this got passed, but does any of it actually work?
100%.
But that was what I was going to do. And then I was just making music for fun with my friend John, who is now my main producer and moved out here with me. And we released one song like right as I graduated college, and it got played on NPR kind of like randomly. And I was like, oh, that's the validation I need to like say, screw it, I'm going to go be a rock star.
I feel like that happens in a lot of people's career. It's like they'll drop something, maybe not super seriously, or they aren't like expecting too much, and then one thing happens with it, and then that positive reinforcement like motivates the rest of what they're doing, you know?
Totally.
It can be like a very, very cool downward spiral, I feel like. Are those like the urban studies and stuff, is that like topics in your music you'd want to touch on as you get further into your career?
Well, lately I've been saying that I want to write the next Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield.
Cool. We were just listening to that a couple days ago.
It's a banger. It's like an undeniable banger that everyone can relate to. I mean, like, I love writing love songs, and I just released an EP that was all like heartbreak and love. But I am really excited to explore like loneliness.
Wow.
And like more of like not loneliness in the sense of love, but loneliness in that like lack of community, lack of sense of self, like feeling alone in like an increasingly digital and like cold world. Yeah. Because I feel like that's something that a lot of people are feeling, and putting it into music in like a cool and artistic way, I feel like would resonate with a lot of people. So it's something I want to explore.
I feel like the more, and it's so strange and like ironic, but it's like the further we develop into like being more and more online, we're so connected, but it's like that ultra connection like makes us lonely in a strange way. It's like there's no questioning anymore.
Well, I think low key we're being sold this idea that technology connects us because it creates more like interface points, like you can communicate with other people in a bunch of ways, but there's a flip side to it, that it is fully and extremely isolating. And I was watching, or I read an article, but I didn't read an article. I watched a TikTok about an article.
Hey, it's valid too.
That was like the loss of community feeling in the digital age, and essentially how like as this kind of like this experience of increasingly like parasocializing all of your relationships, like it actually makes you like a better consumer. And so it's something that like benefits, you know, corporate entities. And it's something that's being kind of like forced upon us, whether we want to or not.
I've always found that so bizarre with like influencers and even like musicians to a certain degree who like chase that parasocial relationship with their fan base.
Well, you have to.
Yeah, but that's the weird part.
You're told that, like, and I mean, you're not just told, like, you watch it happen. The people that do make it work in that, like, they build like really strong parasocial bonds with their fans, do really well. Yeah. So, and I think that there is room for it to be a positive thing. I think that like building community online can be a really good thing. I love being a part of some artists' online communities. I love watching them grow and vibe and do their things and feeling like a part of their journey, but it's still like complicit in like a larger system of like, you know, social isolation.
100%. I think the people who do like the absolute best are the people who develop fan bases in person and online.
Of course.
It's like when you can have that community in an online basis and like a physical space, I think those are the people that are like, one, they're just making more money because they're selling tickets, and then two, it's like they're developing this actual community and actual culture. And I think that's what people like forget about in like 100%. Today's music industry. It's like you can post a million TikToks and they can all go viral. It doesn't matter unless someone actually knows who you are and they care. Yeah. You know? Like, you can have a ton of listeners. Do you have any fans? Like, that's two very different things. Two very, very different things. I feel like you do that super well with your vlogs. We were talking about that, like, before.
Thank you.
Of course. But, like, I think they're very, like, I think it's really easy for stuff like that to feel content-y and not, like, not more of, like, a genuine expression. Like, I was watching one of them, and you were talking about, like, you know, feeling kind of sick and feeling shitty on tour, and, like, that was really cool to me because I feel like it's very easy in, like, a Instagram space, like an online space, to say the opposite, and no one's going to question it, you know?
I mean, I feel like if I'm going to do this, like, story about my life, like, come with me on whatever the hell I'm doing, I want it to be authentic. Like, 100%. I want it to be, I can't preach this message of like authenticity and like feeling how you want to feel and like it's okay not to be okay, all that, you know, like very cheesy but very real positive messaging. I can't preach that and then go online and like pretend like everything's fine when it's not, you know? And it's really funny that you bring up the vlogs because I have actually gotten like a lot of like in-person like people bring it up to me and they're like, I loved your vlog.
Did
like,
you not expect it?
No, I didn't at all. It was kind of one of those things where I was like, what's my favorite content to consume on social media?
Interesting.
I love Victoria Paris, like unabashedly. Like I love that woman. I would follow her off a bridge, a cliff. She can tell me to do anything and I'll do it. And like, I love watching her like vlogs, her like, this is what I did today. Yeah. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna make one myself and see how it goes. And like people really responded to it. So I guess I'm gonna make more of them.
Dude, I wish I was like I try to be good about stuff like that, but it's hard for me. And I'm curious to ask you about this. It's hard for me to like remember to pull out my phone and record the moments that I should be recording.
I'm doing one today.
Oh, really?
I'm supposed to. Yeah. Here, we're gonna say hi.
Hi. That's sick.
Yeah.
Like but dude, do you struggle to remember that? Like it's so hard for me to like remember sometimes. Like, oh, I thought I got the fly. It's hard for me to remember sometimes. Like pull out my camera, pull out my phone, and record the moments that like I should be sharing. And it's hard because it takes you out of the moment sometimes. I feel like.
Oh, it totally takes you out of the moment. And like, I feel like it's all. This is the one thing. If you do forget to film something, just film something else and be like, I was having fun and I forgot to film. Yeah. But here's a video of this lovely flower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This fly.
This fly is going crazy.
But the way I kind of do it is I'm like, all right, for example, this weekend I'm vlogging because I want to get one out next week. So I know it's just like on my brain. Like I'm like, okay, you just have to film enough so that you can tell a story about what happened this weekend. Yeah. Because I have a busy weekend and it's kind of like I like plan ahead of time. All right, this is my schedule's packed this weekend.
Smart.
I have a bunch of things going on. Let's just vlog it.
Yeah, so
And-
it's like you pick out the most busy periods and schedules in your
Yeah.
calendar, and then those are the times you vlog.
Exactly.
See, that makes way more sense.
Because if you don't like create like a little like a plan and you're like, okay, this time I will be vlogging, then it's this like open-ended prompt of like, just film your life.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't want to film my
exactly.
life.
Yeah.
I want to live my life.
Yeah, exactly. That is weird. It is kind of an open-ended prompt. It's like, just do this thing, but like, not like when. It's kind of like when you tell yourself you're going to do something, you're going to get better at doing something, but there's not a time of the day that you're doing that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's just there, and you're like saying, oh, I have to do this, but I don't know when.
Exactly.
It's a really weird like concept. Do you struggle with like the kind of the idea of like balancing the artistic part of you that is like a musician and like is creating, and then the marketing aspect part of you where it's like you have to push yourself as a personality, and then kind of the place where those two intersect? Like, how do you balance the world of like marketing the music versus making the music?
It's a very difficult balance, especially like I firmly believe that as human beings we're built to operate in seasons, right? Like
okay.
we're like tied to nature, and nature operates in seasons. There's planting season, there's tending season, there's harvesting season, there's resting season, right? Like, I don't know if that's the perfect explanation, but we aren't meant to do like the same thing every single day for forever. That's kind of like not how we're built. Or I don't think so anyway, and not that I'm the authority on the subject.
I agree with
but
you.
It's social media is how it is built to favor that kind of like robotic consistency.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about finding your own like personal balance with like periods of consistency. And like some people are really good at it. Some people can do that like crazy level of output where they can post like 3 videos a day for literally 7 months or 9 months. I'm not one of those people. It's really about like feeling my seasons and what they are and like working with them so that I try to avoid burnout. Not always successfully. Like I recently took like an unexpected break from social media because I was like, I need a little bit of, just like
breathing room.
Breathing room, a little bit of space from being plugged into the whole world all the time and constantly comparing yourself to other people.
Yes.
And like, as much as you can be aware that it's not good to do that, you still end up doing it.
100%.
So yeah, it's that forever tightrope of what do I need right now and how much can I contribute and to marketing my music, because also you need that rest, you need that space to be able to create the art that's impactful.
And it's so overstimulating sometimes. Like I find when I'm like when
it's
I'm like
overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like you just feel like I feel the feeling is almost indescribable. But it's like if I'm in a car with people or like in my living room with people or like I'm in a place with a lot of people and I pull out my phone, I start answering texts and they're talking at the same time. It's like my brain is just like exploding. I made this rule recently that I'm proud of, and I promised myself that like if I'm with other people in any capacity, I will not answer work texts no matter what, under any circumstance.
I love that. I mean, I think it's like really weird how out of nowhere we are just universally expected to be available to be communicated with at all times of the day, anytime that someone reaches out to you.
That's never been the case.
No, it's never been the case in like all of human history. It's literally just been like not even since the invention of cell phones. Like I would say like smartphones is when it became like if you're not available, like that's a problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't exactly know what the solution is, but I think like, finding your own personal boundaries is like a good first step. Probably.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's like it's genuinely bad for us as people in our relationships with each other, I think. Because like one thing that's been crazy, I think, to like realize as cell phones have developed and we become more and more attached to them, they've almost become like an extension of us, is when we like are in a relationship with somebody, be it a friendship or romantic relationship or whatever, it's like there's like texting code, which is so weird to me. It's like if I text you and you don't respond within a certain amount of time, like then I get anxious, and it's like, why is my anxiety tied to my cell phone? Like that's so unhealthy.
And why is my anxiety tied to someone's ability to be like responsive to a cell phone? You know what I mean? Like it's not about how they treat you in person. It's not about what they say about you.
Yeah.
It's all about how responsive are you? How plugged in are you? How willing are you to like do a bunch of little tiny weird digital tasks on my behalf?
Yeah.
So.
How willing are you to like my DM like on
God.
Instagram, like shit like that? It's just it's so strange how that code works.
How many emojis did you use?
Yeah, exactly. What emojis are you sending me? It's cool though. I think sometimes like I've met so many amazing friends like online that have become in-person friends. I think that's the coolest thing. It's like I think when you can establish that relationship online, you know, like you connect with somebody and then it's like you meet in person and you become great friends. You really click, and it's like that can kind of, you know, a real friendship can stem from something that started online.
I mean, I owe my career to the internet, like undeniably. And that's the thing is like the internet isn't monolithically bad or good. It's like a multi-layered, like really complex experience. It's essentially like another realm of like social interaction, like a whole other world. And so it's so filled with like good things and bad things. And it's because I feel like you're either supposed to say like, damn the internet, fuck the internet's the worst thing in the world, or like you're supposed to be like really excited, but I'm internet neutral.
Yeah, well, because it just exists. We can't do anything about it. And it's like, I think it's one of those things that like, this is going to exist for the rest of human existence.
Most likely.
Probably
hope.
I think so. But it's like, we can't undo it. Like, so we either have to, I think you're right, it's going to be a very personal thing. It's like, I learn to live with it, you learn to live with it, or we don't. You know, it's kind of like, I think of like college in a lot of ways. It's like a lot of people I think are blanket like fuck college, or like college is good for everybody, when in reality I think the answer is so in the middle with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the US there's like specifically we have like a really weird relationship with higher education.
Totally.
Just like the financial burden that it places on like a lot of people is super like just it's overwhelming, and there's so much pressure to go. So it's essentially pressure to like indebt yourself, which
is crazy.
That is stupid. That's like what I think everyone's protesting because, and also like colleges are businesses because of that system. So, and specifically American colleges. But also, like, if I didn't go to college, I wouldn't have expanded my brain. I wouldn't have met the people that I ended up making the songs that got me to where I am today. You know?
Totally. I think it's like the problem is we look at it as like a one-size-fits-all solution, you know, when it's very, 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 very much not. And then there's like the elitist part of it where it's like if you don't do it, and often you don't do it because of financial burden, but it's like regardless of that, if you don't do it, you're viewed as lesser in the eyes of some people. At least, but I do think that's changing in like the job fields for a lot of the time, you know?
Well, because the reality is like if you have the skills you need to do a job, then what does it matter if you have a piece of paper that
100%.
says that you paid $100,000 to attend classes and party for 4 years?
Yeah, exactly. I just think like the further and further we get removed from the place where it's like college is going to be like the blanket statement answer for everybody's life about what you do after high school, the better. I just don't think it's I feel like we're too often trying to shove like a square peg into a round hole. It's like we're just trying to make something work that isn't going to work for everybody. It works great for some individuals and depending on their path and what they want to do, but for everybody it's never going to work like that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's more about like I think it's one of those like things where it's college has been marketed really well.
Yes, yeah.
Because they're businesses, because they're made to be profitable, and the easiest thing to market is a better life.
100%.
You know, so if
that's a great point. Wow.
Colleges can market to you that, you know, we can make your life better.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good at saying that.
They're corporations.
Like it's as long as colleges are for-profit institutions, even if they call themselves nonprofits, like
they're not nonprofits.
They're not nonprofits. Like as long as that is the way that things are, it's going to be difficult to like shift the messaging. It's kind of up to us to figure it out.
I totally agree. Do you think colleges can exist morally as they exist, or simultaneously exist morally and as corporations? Or like as profit?
Is there any ethical consumption under capitalism?
Yeah, that's like the question. Yeah,
and there's really like, you know, that's a big question mark.
Yeah, that's strange. So when did you? So you went to school in Philly? You said?
Yes, I went to Temple University.
So you're from Philly, then went to school there.
Yep.
And then you moved here a year ago.
Yes.
Gotcha. When you moved here originally, like how was it getting your footing? Like how did you first kind of start to branch out and like meet people when you first moved to LA?
I'd come here a couple times
Mm-hmm.
before moving here, because a song that I released called Vitamin E went semi-viral,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really lucky because it went viral here in Los Angeles. Which,
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you could see it in the back end.
Super
You
lucky.
could see it on Spotify and on Instagram and on
Yeah.
TikTok. Like, the metrics were like Los Angeles. Everything, all my followers that came in, all the listeners that came in were from Los Angeles. So that's really lucky because it could have been like Milwaukee or something. And then
Yeah.
I would have been flying to Milwaukee, but it was Los Angeles. And luckily, it came with a lot of like label, publisher, manager outreach, lots of session requests. So I came out here, did a bunch of sessions, came out here again, played shows. And so I had a little bit of a network when I showed up. And at the time, when I first got here, I did like a distribution deal with SoundCloud's
Whoa.
like distribution arm.
I
which-
saw they've been doing that.
Yeah, it was an interesting process. We no longer work together, but
Mhm.
it was super validating to come here and have like access to a company like SoundCloud, to kind of help get my footing and lend some legitimacy to the project.
For sure. Can I ask you about that deal? That's very interesting. Like,
Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I want to make sure it wasn't like
No, it's cool.
Was it like generally a positive deal for you, and like was it more of like a progressive deal structure that SoundCloud offered you? Because that was like what I was reading about, like kind of the distribution wing that they were doing. Like they were more like artist friendly, more progressive deal structures,
It's
right?
progressive in the sense that it was super flexible.
Okay.
So it was no advance,
Yeah.
and 20% of master, which that's shitty.
Whoa. There. Yeah.
So,
Red flag.
but it was one song per year, or one song for 1 year at a time.
Okay.
So
So it
you
was a single
sign-
deal, more or less.
You sign one song at a time to them for 1 year, and then you can take it back at the end, which
Okay.
is what I ended up doing.
Interesting.
But
What do you might take it back? Like you don't have to recoup it, and you just get it back.
well, I don't recoup anything. Because
Oh,
it was
okay.
my money.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was like in return, they were supposed to do like editorial pitching and like
The things they all say they're gonna do.
yeah,
Yeah.
the things that every distributor says they're going to do. And they,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they did. I wasn't in the office watching them do it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
nothing came of it. Not
Uh-huh.
even SoundCloud editorial, which I was a little
Okay,
disappointed
that's
on.
that's
I know.
kind of wild.
I know. No shade to SoundCloud. SoundCloud
Yeah.
did some awesome things for me. My Puma bag is over there. They hooked me up with like a lovely. Actually, I'm wearing Puma shoes right now. Shout out Puma.
Oh, those
But they hooked me up with like an awesome Puma brand deal.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, so I was like sponsored by Puma last year, and that was all through SoundCloud because their brand team is amazing.
Yeah.
And so like there were some really positive aspects of the deal. There were some things that I like looking back, things I wouldn't do again.
Yeah.
But what I did appreciate was the fact that it wasn't locking me in for anything.
Yeah,
it
for
was
sure.
one song at a time for 1 year at a time.
Mhm.
So I didn't like the way it worked out. No harm, no foul. I take the songs back, and I retain all the mastered now.
Nice. So it's a pretty like cut and dry
Yeah.
type of like. I think that is more of a progressive deal structure for sure.
It is. I mean, it would be more progressive if something actually came
Of it, yeah, for sure. But I mean,
Other than being dressed in Puma clothes,
Yeah.
which I
Which
really
is
can't
dope.
complain. That's
Yeah.
really, it was really cool to do that. And
Yeah.
but I can go buy a pair of Puma shoes. I want my music to
Yeah.
to progress.
100%.
in like a serious way.
100%. And I mean, that's the thing with like a lot of distro deals and a lot of label deals. It's like a lot of the time there is like those no harm no foul situations, but a lot of these people are. I'm not saying about SoundCloud, but I'm just saying a lot of these people are bad at their jobs, and they don't understand what they're doing, and they don't understand the way they're marketing music. It's just like based 5 to 10 years in the past.
Yeah. It's also that like it's everybody it's such a complex situation.
For sure, yeah.
But like really what everyone in the music industry says right now is like post on TikTok.
Which is
Post
just
on
dumb.
TikTok.
It's just dumb.
And it's just like of course we can post on TikTok. We know that we're supposed to be posting on TikTok. What are you gonna do to move the needle?
Yeah,
Everyone wants to
exactly.
move the needle. And honestly, people don't know.
It's their opt out. It's their
yeah.
escape. And the reality is, there's no way to move the needle online anymore via virality. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
On TikTok, you know, it's very, very difficult to, even if you dump hours and hours and hours and lots of money into adverts and whatever, it's like the conversion rate on TikTok is not going to be high. It doesn't happen anymore because of the oversaturation of it.
Yeah.
So it's like I think what a lot of these labels don't understand is like there is no blow up quick tactic anymore. That existed for like a 9-month period during the pandemic. It doesn't
literally.
exist anymore.
And then they during that time they kind of abandoned all these other ways
Yes.
of pushing people.
Mhm.
And because during the pandemic there was no live activations. There were no like in-person ways of marketing.
Yes.
They were like, okay, we don't need them anymore because TikTok's doing all the work.
Yeah.
And now,
which is so stupid.
Yeah. Now we're kind of left. I mean, like, because of that, and there's no one specific to blame, right?
Yeah.
But it's like because of the way the pandemic shook out, because of like labels kind of leaning on TikTok in that moment. There's now no other infrastructure
Yes.
for artists to climb up.
Yes.
And not saying that there's no other infrastructure and there's no way people can do it. People are doing it every day in creative new ways, but it's hard.
Yes, and it's not going to happen through virality.
Yeah, and it's also like it's no longer anywhere close of a guarantee that if you
No.
get signed to a major label that you're going to do well.
It's actually like, I would have guessed by the year that the success rate of like, you know, you especially signing to a major, I would bet that like the success rate of like random chances that majors are taking is like going down by the year. Like I wonder like if you took the majors and you saw like how many artists they've dropped per year, how like if that's increasing or not. It has to be, right?
That would be a really interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, I'd be super curious to figure that out. I think what a lot of them don't understand is world building. I think that is like a newer concept that like labels don't understand that because like exactly what you said during the pandemic they realized they didn't have to do that because they had this they had this casino shot that was TikTok, and they realized that they could just lean on that and they could do everything from it, and they abandoned all the other forms of branding. They abandoned all the forms of world building and making people into a character. And then it's like post TikTok now, it's like people are realizing that they need it now, but they don't know how to do it, and they're so used to banking on the TikTok strategy that is so quick and so viral and so based in this like short attention economy that they're unwilling to do something that's going to take 5 years. And in the reality, like building a world takes a long time, but it's how you create fans.
An artist, like even myself, like I'm 26 and I've been doing this for 4 years, right? I still feel like I have so much to learn when it comes just to making music. And like I love the music I've put out, I love what I've made, but like I want to be better. I want to like learn from some of the best people in this industry, and I'm so lucky to have worked with some incredible people out here. But it's like that they've kind of like abandoned this whole idea of like music is a high form of art that like takes training and it takes like years of work to be a developed and like an artist that's ready to help the world to sing songs with the entire world. Like that I feel like is very like lost on us today. Right now everyone's looking for like the hidden undiscovered person in their bedroom making videos, and it's great that we're looking for those people because that's where the next generation of talent is for sure. I am also making videos in my bedroom about my music, but you can't just like take that person and put them on the world stage. There has to be steps in between. And it's not just sticking them in the room with Ryan Tedder and making a mega hit. There's a whole lot in between. They don't understand development anymore. They've abandoned development, and that part to me feels like disrespectful. It does, but I will also say, to insert some positivity into this, that there are some incredible I'm being so negative. Sorry. There are some incredible people in the music industry who are 100%. Truly like trying to bring it back. 100%. There are voices in a lot of different spaces in high levels that are saying how important artist development is, and that we need to bring it back, and that it's vital for the health and longevity of the music industry. Totally. That's something that we prioritize. Yeah. It's just like it isn't always the most lucrative. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah. It's very, very, very difficult. Yeah. And it's interesting too because they're just not, like specifically the majors are not good at this, and it shows via their success rate, and it shows like via the fact they're making like the vast majority of their money from their back catalog. Yeah, like labels. One of my dear friends was working for a major publisher. We will keep everyone nameless. 100%. But and he ended up getting fired. Wow. Okay. I love him dearly. He's amazing. Shout out to him. Seriously, but he's like a very he's very spiritual and very like. Very into artist development, cool, and very like grassroots type of vibe when it comes to the music world. And something that he felt very strongly after his entire experience there was that like everything's about the numbers. Yes. Everything is based off the back catalog. No one really cares about like
what they're gonna do next.
What's being made that's new. It's like, okay, actually, let's send around a list of songs that haven't been reinterpolated lately,
Wow.
and like send them around to the writers to interpolate and reinterpret and generate more income, more revenue from the back catalog that we already have. Because they don't actually want anything new. They want the songs from the 70s through the early 2000s. They want to just like keep on milking all of those.
Yeah.
So
that's so crazy to me, and that part to me is what feels disrespectful, and it feels like it's a spit in like they're spitting in the face of artistry in that regard. That I hate. That I really, really, really hate.
It also is a little disrespectful to the consumer.
100%. Like they're acting like they're stupid.
Yeah, it's like we only want to market things that we already know work. We don't want to like try and give you something that's new.
Like challenge people.
Yeah, which, you know, if your only goal is profitability, then I guess it makes sense. But that's about like the morals of the music industry and the morals of creative spaces like this in general.
Yeah.
Of like, do we value creativity more than revenue?
Yes.
And the answer is obviously no. Like when you look at it in a broad scheme, but you know, we have to balance that. And as consumers, we can make our opinions known by how we spend our money and who we support and all that good stuff.
It's hard to be it's hard to be disciplined as a consumer and like consciously think about like who you're giving your money to. That's a whole different thing. That's incredibly difficult. I'd be curious to see if you agree with this statement. But one thing I think about often is like, I think you should never have an easier time making your music than when you sign to a major or just sign in general. I think the reason I think that is because like it feels crazy to me that like these I keep saying majors, but I'm just talking about labels in general, I guess. Yeah.
Well, most labels that you would ever hear about are a JV.
Of a major. Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? There's like two companies.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But it's like it's crazy to me that like you can sign. And all they're going to tell you is one, make TikTok, or one, you know, do your pitching correctly. We're going to help you with pitching, blah, 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 whatever. But it's like, it's crazy how you sign and you instantly have no time. When in reality, it's like, and I would ask about your situation with this. I'd be curious to hear. I feel like there's so many people that I hear about and so many artists that I talk to who like they sign and then the next thing that happens is they spend less time making music than they were before because they're doing all these things the label is requiring of them or asking them to do. And I feel like the opposite should be true. They should be taking care of these things when you're making music. Like you should be making the music. They should be doing everything or a lot of other things for you at least.
Well, I will put it like this. If you're lucky enough to get signed and you're in that position, you are now a business owner. Yeah. You just got investment, right? And so as the CEO of your business, your responsibilities expand. And also that then what it's supposed to do is to provide you the time to focus on your business. Yeah. Right? Because say I got signed to fucking whatever the hell deal, 6-figure investment tomorrow, right? I would quit my damn day job. Yeah. Which is lovely, right? And that means that I can take that time and devote it to music. Yeah. I think like in the case of if you're just like if you're vibing off of like your parents' money or you know trust fund.
God, that would be great. That would be awesome.
Then you're signed to a label and they're like, oh yeah, you have all these other things you have to do, and you're like, oh fuck, I can't just make music every day like I was doing before. That's one thing. But like for those of us who are like grinding out there, making money, doing what we have to do, and then doing music and everything else when we can, that money is supposed to create the space to let being an artist be your full-time gig. Yeah. So I don't disagree with you. Like making music is a really important part. Like is the most important part. The good music is the most important thing about being an artist.
Of course.
And so that needs to be your priority. But like the rest of it's still really important.
For sure.
And you're a business owner, and there's going to be shit that you don't want to do, and you just got to fucking suck it up and do it.
100%. Couldn't agree more. But the people who do it are the ones you hear about, and the people who don't are the ones you don't.
One of my good friends, Snow Wife, if you've ever heard of her, she's someone who I watched just absolutely fucking kill it.
Sick.
Like she got a deal, went ham, like went absolutely insane on the visuals, insane on working on music, like really like locked in with her team and turned it into something absolutely incredible.
Good for her.
And it was something that's one of those moments where you're like, you know, that's taking your money and putting a bet on someone that you know is like, gonna work their ass off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was something like, it's that's the question is like, when you get that, that's not the end of the road. It's not like, oh my God, I made it. It's like, now the work begins.
That's what people don't. I think that is another like incredibly misinterpreted thing about the music industry. And I think this idea was peddled for so long. Like you sign and it's like, oh, we're up. We did it, you know. But it's like in reality, that is like less and less and less the case. And I think you're right though. It is interesting like who they're willing to put their investments into. Like I talked to I got lunch with like a friend of mine who does management lists lately. Or a couple months ago now. But I got lunch with him, and he was talking to me about like this artist he was trying to sign to a management deal. And they were talking, or he was telling me about like his biggest qualification for somebody who he wants to manage is he'll take them out to dinner, and he tracks and thinks about how they treat the waiters. And I was like, that's an incredibly interesting metric to like judge somebody by. But I think it's so true. Like I think somebody needs empathy. Somebody needs kindness. Someone needs to have that lack of ego to be able to like acknowledge that the people that they're trying to push their music to are the ones giving them a career, therefore servicing them, therefore making the career fun and go.
Oh my God, if you are mean to service workers, how are you going to treat your fans?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
like that's actually kind of brilliant.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Dropping nuggets of wisdom for all the managers
watching. I loved that. I thought that was so cool. Yeah. What's your day job?
What's my day job? Right now, I am delivering weed for a dispensary.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm the weed man.
Oh, hell yeah. For like weed maps or like what?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a dispensary down in Mid-City.
Sick.
So if you order weed, I
might pull up. You don't know.
I might just show up at your house.
How have you found the balance has been between making music and your day job?
I mean, I've had a couple different day jobs. I was like working like a stupid remote tech gig for a while, but the economy's trash, and I like the company went under, and then I was unemployed for a little while, but it was a good thing because I was on tour, and then I got back from tour and I was like, oh, I need money, and so here I am. But I'm just like a little art rat doing my art rat things, scurrying around the city, trying to find some cheese.
That's sick. I bet you meet some cool people delivering weed.
Yeah, everyone's really happy to see me.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, everyone's like thrilled that I'm there, so that's been fun.
They're like, yes, finally, my weed's here.
Exactly.
I used to DoorDash drive, and I met some very, very interesting people.
Yeah, you do.
It's cool, and then you kind of see, I think that is a very interesting perspective you can have on people, and you can learn to like filter out the bad people really easily and filter out the ones that are nice in a very, very different way. And it's interesting. I think serving tables taught me a lot about how I should treat people, Oh
my God, yeah. And serving I did that for a little bit back in Philly. And it is one of those things, I feel like everyone should be a server.
I totally agree.
Just to like go through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to like feel like the stress of like 6 tables that are all a little upset at you,
screaming at you,
and a kitchen that is like against you, and like a POS system that is not working, and like everyone should feel that level of gravity.
I genuinely think like after serving tables for years, like I can handle stress in a way better way now, because it's just like I used to work at the spaghetti factory, and I had this coworker.
Spaghetti factory, that's a fun name for a restaurant.
Not a fun restaurant.
Okay. Good to know.
Because I guess they don't have any in that part of America in Philly.
No, I've never heard of that in my life.
There's like some on the West Coast.
Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, Cheesecake Factory's fire. But shout out. Yeah, have you the strawberry lemonade Cheesecake Factory is cracked. It's so good.
That's so funny.
It's delicious. But yeah, I had this coworker at the spaghetti factory. Her name was Jessica. No way she watches this, but shout out to Jessica.
Shout out Jessica.
She whenever we get really, really busy, she just would she'd have hella tables, but she just would never ever look stressed, like ever. She always looked so calm and like peaceful, and she'd been there for years when I worked there. And one day we were slammed, and I asked her, I was like, Jessica, how do you always look so like nonchalant and like not stressed and like at peace? And she looked at me and she was like, it's just spaghetti. And I was like, God, you're so right. I was like, that's the best piece of advice I've ever gotten, because it's just true. It's like no one's gonna die because they don't get their pasta on time. It's like really not that deep.
Yeah, thank God we're not brain surgeons, right?
Yeah, I think about that. Oh, dude, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I can't
Shout out
imagine.
brain surgeons.
Yeah, shout out to brain surgeons. We're lucky to work and I mean, working in music is beautiful, but it's like it
It's so
is,
low pressure
but
at
it's
the
so
end
low
of the day,
pressure.
yeah.
None of it actually matters. That's kind of the
That's
beauty
true.
of it, you know.
Yeah.
Were you like, so when you were in Philly and you were on your serving table shit, just working in music and stuff? Were you around like a lot of people in Philly who were also creating? Was there any
Yeah.
sort of scene out there, and how did you kind of tap into that?
There's a scene in Philly. It's an interesting scene because there's a lot of talent, but there's not a lot of infrastructure to support the
Interesting.
talent.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of like visible examples of people that are a couple steps forward, right? Like we got people like Meek Mill, Tierra Whack,
course.
who you can look up to and be like, wow, they made it. But Tierra Whack went to Atlanta, and then she got signed and was being developed and worked with a manager. And yeah, she still lives in Philly, but she's fucking everywhere.
Out of here. Uzi.
And yeah, Uzi's another great example. And there's like so much talent in Philly, but when you come out here, you see that like it's a ladder, and there are if I feel like in Philly you can't actually see the rungs of the ladder that are just ahead of you. You only see the people at the top, and you see everyone else around you, and you don't see how people get there. But here you see how people take steps and go from do that gradual growth. But yeah, that's I think the big challenge that a lot of people in Philly face is that they don't really know what to do to take the next step.
Yeah.
So it's the whole scene is very focused on like totally DIY. I'm my own manager. I don't need a team. I'm hustling, grinding, doing it on my own is the vibe.
That's so interesting. Like, I've never thought about the ladder analogy. I'm from the Bay Area, and I feel like it's actually very similar. Because, wow, that's so interesting. Because before I moved here, I never was around like a lot of middle class artists.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like people who
totally.
like have found success, but like they aren't Drake, but like they aren't like signed, but they've definitely found success and have a fan base. There's a ton of that out here, like a lot of that. But in the Bay Area, it was either like you're just getting started, not really taking it seriously, or like you were out of here.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of like middle of the road, middle class musicians.
No.
Not even a talent basis, but a development basis.
It changes the perception of the job.
You want more coffee?
No, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
sipping. I'm
Hell
chilling. But yeah, it changes the perception of the job because it's kind of like when you're in a city that doesn't have a big music economy, it's like the way people look at it is like you're playing the lottery. But here it's a career. It's just a career like if you're a real estate agent or something else, like you can be a really good real estate agent and sell really expensive houses, or you can be like a kind of mid real estate agent and make a fine living selling middle of the road houses. You know what I mean?
And never go anywhere.
And there's no problem with being a middle class real estate agent, just like there's no problem with being a middle class like musician. Like
totally.
I would love to just have like a chill house in Van Nuys and
That's
have
sick, yeah.
like 1 million monthly listeners and just vibe. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, yeah.
Like of course we always want more for ourselves, but I'd be very content with like a middle class existence, just based off of music. And I see a lot of people in that position that are living great lives, and seeing that is very inspiring.
Totally.
And so I think that's like the big culture shift in terms of like the scenes.
I think that's very admirable. I feel like a lot of people, and myself being one, it's like I think, I've aged out of this a little bit, and I think maybe it's because like I'm fully supporting myself off music stuff now for the first time. But it's like, hell yeah. But it's I've got to a point where like I'm more okay and content with like my best than I ever have been. And I think for a long time, like I was never content with my best. Like, well, for a long time I was like, I need to change the world. I need to do all these things. I need to, be have the biggest music media company in the world. But I've gotten to the place now where it's like, I'd rather love what I'm doing, have an amazing group of friends around me, but also just be happy than like actually kill myself over like what I'm doing, like spend, sleep 2 hours a day and like just not eat over this. It's like nothing is worth your health. And I've learned that.
Well, also your health, like being healthy and being mentally well creates your best work.
100%, dude. It's a very, very strange, like kind of almost like a double standard, because it's like on one hand you're like, how you got here and, you know, where you are is from just incredible hard work. But at a certain point, that incredible hard work levels out, and you have to find a place where you can work smarter, but not harder. You know, it's like, and working smarter is getting to this place where it's like you can maintain the level of work that you're doing creatively forever and still have places to go and be inspired and still walk away enough to know that like you can have a life outside of this, and it's actually a positive thing for your artistry.
Yeah, 100%.
It's super, super strange, and I think LA is like, it's sometimes it helps that, or sometimes it can really make that worse, or it can help it. I think when I got here initially, it made it way worse, and now it's made it way better because I have so many beautiful friends here now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like this strange thing.
I definitely, when I first got here, was like, I need to be super successful right now.
Yeah,
because everyone just saw, my whole life, everyone in my life just saw me pick up my whole shit and move my ass across the country for this one thing, right? And I feel like I put a ton of pressure on myself to be super successful, like right off the bat. And obviously it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And not that I haven't been successful. I've been really proud of everything that I've done over the last year and the music that's come out. I'm absolutely in love with it. I think it's my best work so far. But the only thing I wish I could do if I were to go back and do it again is give myself more grace and be a little bit gentler, because truly I don't think I could have done it any better. I think I did my best. The only thing is that I was just so hard on myself and so in my head about, okay, are the numbers there? What do people think about it? Am I going to the coolest parties? What's the vibe?
Like being the best. Yeah.
And it's like that none of that actually matters. It just matters if like you're really excited about the work that you're making.
Yes, 100%. And it's like, it's so ironic too, because like this idea that like we always think of it as such a positive thing when it's like, you know, I want to be the best. Nothing will stop me. I need to work every single day about this. Like, to a lot of people, that sounds like a positive thing, but it's like, to an artist, I think that's so silly, because it's like, what we all do this because we don't want to do the 9-to-5 desk job. Yeah. But it's at a certain point when you're like a slave to your own brain and you're in this place and in this pocket where it's like, if you don't work for an hour, you feel like a piece of shit. You might as well just go do the desk job because you're just as miserable, you know?
We have to divorce the idea of like, it's the capitalist ideal of selling your time for money. 100%. Because the in a creative economy, in a space where you are creating things and bringing them to market, it is not necessarily about this much time equals this much money. It's about quality of work. Yeah. And so, but I think just like our society and everything we're taught, like the structures that we witness every single day is, I trade you an hour of my time, you give me $17. Yes. You know what I mean? And it's not, it doesn't translate like that in our work as artists. And that's just something that needs to be unlearned over time. And it's something that you absorb without trying. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. What do you think the alternative to that structure is? Like the, I give you an hour of my time and you give me $17 structure.
Well, I don't know if that's, I don't know if I don't know if I can provide an alternative for something like delivering weed or something like, you know, like working in retail or a desk job or something. But when it comes to artistry, that I'm saying that mentality spills over, and that's why we think, oh my God, since I'm working for myself, this hour that I didn't work means that I lost out on whatever monetary value that hour would have been if I worked it. Versus checking in constantly on the quality of your work, seeing what you can do to improve the quality of your work, and constantly checking back on yourself and being like, when I am critiquing my work, when I'm looking at my work, what voices are real and productive critiques, and what are insecurities, what are like projections that don't actually have any like value add to your growth in terms of like, your creative process.
Oh yeah, dude, 100. No, I love that way of looking at it, and I think it is the weirdest part about it too is like, we don't clock in as artists, and it's like, that's a beautiful thing, but it's also like,
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, a blessing and a curse. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like there is no clocking out.
No.
Like your job is your life. Like you
Yeah.
are essentially like monetizing and like making your life lucrative. That's like what being an artist is, and it's so strange because it's like there. You know, if you have a desk job or you're a lawyer or whatever, you might not derive purpose from that work, but at least you go to your work at 9 o'clock. You clock out at 5, and you go home to your family. And you do whatever you want to do after, whatever makes you happy. But it's like it's so weird to think about the alternative because it's like you almost have like when you work a 9 to 5, you almost have and this is implied if you don't like it, of course, but it's like if you're working a 9 to 5 job that you don't enjoy, it's almost like you have your time to be a human, and you have your time to not.
Yeah.
When you're an artist, at least you're a human 24/7.
I mean, you hope.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes I'm a trash bag.
Yeah. No, I feel it. A paper bag. Yeah, in the words of the great Katy Perry.
Feel like a plastic bag, like a plastic bag.
I hella feel like a plastic bag.
Have you ever heard that YouTube
the YouTube
remix where it's just like a plastic bag over and over again?
That's such a crazy subgenre of YouTube.
Yeah.
Like the really shitposty YouTube.
Yeah, that's the shitpost deep cut. That's the deep cuts. That's where my brain lives.
Lately, I've been putting on just as like a meme. I've been putting on my second monitor. I'll put on one of the YouTube videos that are like an hour of silence, but every couple minutes it's interrupted by someone smacking a pipe on a piece of concrete.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's just like you'll be sitting there working in silence, and you just get jump scared by like the sound of a pipe.
That's really chaotic.
Yeah, it's kind of demonic. I don't know why. Yeah, it's very like narcissistic to like do something like that to myself. I don't know why.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
you should explore that.
Get that
therapy,
checked
maybe.
out. Yeah, 100%.
Why do I like this?
Yeah. Oh, what first like was very very like appealing to me about your music and very like instantly grasping was like your voice and your vocals, because you're like an incredible singer.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah. And I want to ask, like, was the singing the first part of your artistry that was developed? Did you ever go to vocal lessons or anything like that, or have you always just kind of worked on your singing voice by yourself?
So my mom makes the joke, the really bad joke, that I didn't come out of like her screaming but singing.
Yeah,
like she was like,
funny.
when you came out, it was musical. Like your crying was musical. And so I was very like I was quickly put into like she literally put me into like a performing arts daycare. Like I was like doing like music at the age of 3. And I just really took to it. I just like was like very innately musical, and so it was something that I just was singing from like 3 to 6. Wow. And then at 6 I started doing like local theater, and I was just like a munchkin or like a little reindeer or whatever they needed the kid to be at like Walnut Street Theater in Philly, or Media Theater in Philly. So and then like it kind of started taking up like way too much time, or I don't know, that's subjective. But
just when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was like really young, when I was like elementary school, and my mom essentially was like, you can do theater in school, like that'll be your musical outlet, like let's not make you like a professional kid actor. That doesn't sound like a vibe right now. So I just I didn't love theater in school. I didn't really find that it was my space, but I did choir, I did all of that. And when I was about 14, I started writing songs. And also around 14, I started like working at a vocal studio, like at a voice teacher's studio, like helping her scan music and things. And then she would give me free voice lessons, which was really nice, because didn't grow up with a ton of money. So I had to like kind of work off my lessons. Yeah. But I did have an incredible voice teacher when I was in high school. And yeah, singing was always singing was the first thing. Yeah. And then songwriting was something that was very private. Something that I did kind of like on my own as a way to like process emotions. And I released songs for the first time when I was 16 or 17. Just put them on SoundCloud. They're gone. They're scrubbed from the internet. Good luck fucking finding them.
Do you have them?
Do I have them? I have like a CD in my car.
That's cool. That's
of them. Cool. Yeah, they're very like, I was like obsessed with Lorde at the time, so they're very Lorde-y.
Like cursive
her
singing?
And I, well, not so much. They were just like, they're very much like, I'm a teenager and I'm depressed and all my friends do drugs, like, like that energy with like super minimal like R&B beats, because like I just thought Lorde was like the coolest thing, because she was 16 when I was 16.
She's pretty cool.
Just, like, I mean, low-key she is cool. Did I like Solar Power? Not that much, but it's okay. Melodrama and Pure Heroin were masterpieces.
Literally 10s.
So she gets a pass. But yeah, and then I got like a surprising amount of success as a 16-year-old. Like nothing too crazy, but like more than like tens of thousands of streams on
Wow.
SoundCloud
At 16?
randomly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that was
because
the
at
SoundCloud,
that time
holy grail.
things would just move. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it like wasn't enough for anyone to reach out. It wasn't enough for like me to have like real traction. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to college and forget about it and just like do music for fun. But I just have always written songs because that's just how I cope with life. So it just kept on happening.
Did you think you would come back to it, like when you got older?
I always dreamed of it. It was
Yeah.
always something that I was like, it would be like my fantasy when I would like, daydream.
Yeah,
It would be doing music. And then because Temple University had such a thriving music scene, and I was always hanging out at the basement shows and like
Cool.
just like hanging out with bands, I just started doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of happened.
It just happened. You just fell back
Yeah.
into it. That's beautiful. I think everybody who's meant to create art just eventually falls back into it, you
Yeah.
know? It's like there is this part of your heart, if you're an artist, that like you can't turn off no matter
Yeah.
what, and you will always find it again.
And I mean, even if I never release another song again, I will definitely write 6 trillion.
You'll always
between
love
now-
it. Yeah, and that's
like,
beautiful.
Yeah, I do plan to release more music.
There is more music coming.
Yeah, there is more music coming, I promise. But it's my default state is to just like
Cool.
process my life in the form of song.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting to me that you come from like the theater background. I wouldn't think that at all. I think it's
Thank
sometimes.
God.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Yeah. Well, I just mean sometimes it's like you can tell when someone like
Yeah.
is a theater singer and has that theater voice. You don't give that. You
Well,
just
I
give like a
don't like
great
it.
singer.
I don't like. I mean, not that. No shade to theater people.
Yeah.
They're great. They can do whatever they want.
Sometimes it's hard to translate it into like music that doesn't sound like show tunes or like
Yeah.
theatrical music.
It's like I feel like it's there. Like if you really dig deep down, like and like there is some influence there. But the reality is that like theater was never my. It was just what was available.
You were a musician
to
who
a
was disguised as an
youth,
actor.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what's available. That's like what you can do in school,
Mhm.
like in the format of like extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
That's what you can do. That's the closest thing you can do to being a performer, right? They don't have like a rock band for
should.
like they should
Yeah.
obviously. And like there were schools like Kappa in Philly, like performing arts high schools,
Cool.
like totally. But I didn't access that. That wasn't part of my life. So theater was like the only thing within the context of like doing well in high school, because I was very concerned with like doing things the right way
Yeah.
and things by the rules. I was like a good kid.
Okay.
Very nerdy, and I wanted to do things like the way I'm supposed to do them.
Yeah.
And do them through school. So that was just like what was available to me. But yeah.
Yeah, that's it's kind of a two-way street. It's interesting. It's like you can either like go it's like you can like actively chase it, or you can just kind of like let it fall into your lap. I think it's cool though. I think it's beautiful that you found it again, and I think it feels like it was like meant to happen. You know?
Oh, definitely.
And it's cool that you like even had that outlet, even if it was theater at the time. I think the best people who like take like the theater type chops and like reinterpret them to something like interesting is like I think Queen does that, you know.
Well, the really good thing about
Fun.
theater, fun. Oh my god, I loved fun in
Yeah.
high school. I was
They
so
were
obsessed.
so
I was
good.
so obsessed.
That is the most like tragic musical story ever, that they broke up and will never
Yeah.
come back.
Well, Jack Antonoff, he's still
killing it.
still
like,
killing
yeah.
it. It's kind of crazy that's like his origin story.
Isn't that weird? I feel like
it
not a lot of
is.
people know that.
Yeah, no, I'm deep in the lore.
Yeah, me too. Like Jack Antonoff's literally a modern genius.
Yeah,
but
goat. I mean, once again, I did not like Jack Antonoff. What did you do to Lord? Why was Solar Power like
Yeah.
that? I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I don't want to beef with Lord. I love Lord. Lord, I love you. If you ever see this, she will.
Manifest it. She will.
I forget what I was saying.
Yeah, me too. I want to ask you about the title of the EP though.
Yeah.
Bags, and so the project is what? It's like a month old-ish right now?
Yeah, it's about a month. Yeah.
Nice. How have the emotions been like since you released it, and how it's kind of developed and gotten like over the past month?
A little bit of postpartum depression.
Okay,
I'm not
interesting.
gonna lie to you. This was a super, super, super emotional record.
Yeah. It is very emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it like details this like really unfortunate like unrequited love situation that I was in, where I was like extremely close with this person and like verging on like very romantic, but it like never really came together. But I had such high hopes for it, and like it was pretty much all I could write about for like a year and a half of my life. And so I just had this like enormous collection of songs that I whittled down to these. And it's crazy because these songs are old to me now. Like they were written from like 2021 to 2022. And then like, yeah, they're a little old, and it's a version of me that was like really in the throes.
It's like a time period of your life.
Yeah, it was just like someone who was the version of me that wrote those songs was so confused and so upset and so like felt like they could never be loved. Yeah. So listening back to it, it's very much like, oh, like poor younger me. Like not that it's that much younger than me. It's like a year ago, but
that's really cool.
Yeah,
it's like a time capsule, and it's like that's not reflective like who you are right now, but that was a part of you.
Yeah,
that's so cool. A friend told me recently something that James Blake said about songwriting, and specifically more like releases, and I found it very interesting. He was talking about how like kind of how you described it, postpartum. It's like when you release an album or release an EP or just a body of work, it's like that is a part of you that was yours for a long time, and it's
just yours.
Yeah, just yours, nobody else's. And you know you could change it any way you wanted. You could like update it by via the new version of you and the way that those feelings have developed. But it's like once it's out in the world, it no longer belongs to you; it belongs to them. That's very selfless, but it's like you're right. It's kind of postpartum. Like you're leaving something behind.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's exciting to give it away, right? It's exciting to, like, give it to the world. And luckily, like, it's been received with such love. And, like, the fans have really fucked with it. Like, my friends and my like, close supporters have all reached out and told me how much, like, specific songs have meant to them, which is all, it, like, really means the world when stories that are so specific about my life resonate with other people.
Yeah.
And there's some really crazy vocal moments. Like, I had a great time recording it with Drea Rose. She did all the vocal production on that, and she's incredible. And just, like, it was my first time working with, like, a queer person in the studio in the context of, like, delivering a performance and telling these stories. And so it was really helpful to just, like, have, like, a fellow queer person there with me kind of, like, holding my hand as I bore my soul about this like really unfortunate relationship.
Yeah, like be vulnerable.
Yeah, and so like it felt really nice to get all that out there and lay it all on the table.
That's beautiful and selfless. And I think like when you get to that place where you're telling like your stories for the benefit of other people, it's a very strange thing releasing music. It's like simultaneously incredibly selfish and incredibly selfless. It's like so self-absorbed, but it's also like you're putting your stories out there in hopes that somebody takes something from them, you know? Yeah. Have you had anybody like reach out at all who's like resonated with the content of it yet?
Oh my God, yes.
That's so cool.
The song Bag really gets people. And it gets people like not just like queer men that have been in love with straight men, but because that's what the story's about. But it's like a lot of people who have felt like they're in a relationship that's not serving them. Yeah. Like many, I can't even think of singling out just one, but especially when I perform the song, I get a lot of people coming up to me being like, that Bag song that said something, like you just told the story of my last relationship, like were you there, like what's going on? And so that's been like, it's cool because I know that when I was 15 taking the bus to school, listening to songs, those songs were the things that like I treasured that time. Like I was just like, this is the, like just getting lost in music was like the most important part of my day. Yeah. And the fact that I can soundtrack other people's lives in that way is like something I treasure. And so I'm like so appreciative to the people that allow me to do that.
And it's beautiful too when like you tell your story and someone reinterprets it a different way and it becomes theirs.
Yes.
You know? Like it's like you tell your story and your truth and what happened to your life, but it's like someone can listen to it and like relate it to their life in a way that's not the same, but it is the same.
Yeah, I mean we are all the same person, just like reintroducing ourselves to each other.
Yeah, I think that's a cool way to look at it. And it is one of the coolest things about music, I think, is the fact that like we are just drawn to music that we relate to. Yeah. Like we see artists that like we feel like that could be us, or like the stories they're telling could be us, or like, you know, we see ourselves in that person, and that's how we're attracted to musicians. And whether it's conscious or subconscious, it's the truth. And it's the coolest thing about it, I think. Yeah, it's super, super sick. So the EP comes out last month, and you're kind of like in the stage now of marketing for it and everything, and you just got off tour, right?
Yes.
And were you playing all the songs from the project on tour?
Yes, I was.
How was like the crowd reaction to them? Because I'm sure that was everybody's first time hearing them live. And how was it? How was the feeling of it?
It was great. I mean, these songs, like this is my first time really doing the whole like let's write 50 songs and pick 5.
Cool. Yeah.
So I placed a lot of importance on singability.
Yeah.
And like how they would translate live, because the live show is something that's really important to me. And so I'm really lucky. Me and my one of my co-writers and producers, John Delafranco, John Major on Instagram. Go check him out.
Shout out to John Major.
Yeah, JAWN, like
John.
a Philly, that's a Philly word.
That's such a Philly thing.
But we do a lot of like So Far Sounds shows.
Cool,
just
yeah.
because they really fuck with us, and
So Far sick.
Yeah, it's a cool little room to play or space to play in, wherever they pop up. But we did a lot. We tested a lot of songs out in those spaces to try and just like really hone in which songs are the ones that have moments live.
Yeah.
And so
I love that way of thinking about it. Moments. That's so cool.
Well, it's all about moments.
Yeah, for sure.
So getting up on stage and doing them like full production with a drummer, tracks, John on bass, like it felt great. And there are like certain runs and certain moments in some of these songs. Like there's a song called My Stomach that every time I sing it, especially with like the full production behind it, I come very close to like tearing up on stage like every time.
Beautiful.
Just because it feels so powerful. It feels like I'm like saying something that I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Why is it called My Stomach?
The first lyric, which actually might be my favorite lyric on the project, is "Heartbreak is a harpoon in my stomach." Which
those are very, very stomach felt emotions.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And it was a moment when I was like hanging out with my crush, and we were going out together, like we were like going out on a night out on the town and like having fun, and we like talked about this night for a long time, and I was really excited about it. And then like he ended up like this girl just like threw herself at him randomly, and so of course, and like no harm no foul, he like went after that. And I just had to like sit there and watch alone, because we had like intended to like go out together that night. It was like him and I just doing it, and then I was like, wow, I'm literally alone watching this like nightmare scenario play out for myself, where I'm just like watching someone at the time where I thought it was like the love of my life like just be like wooed by some random motherfucker. Yeah. And so heartbreak is a harpoon in my stomach. Now time for the long game of who done it. I won't cave in. I'll plead the fifth. What's the next line? I don't even remember.
I'll plead the fifth is a really cool thing to say in the song. I love that.
Well, because I remember in the immediate wake of that, I literally was so crushed, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. Yeah. So I was just so I was like, I just can't talk.
Yeah.
And so it was that like I feel it was that perfect moment of like I'm crushed, but I have to pretend like I'm not crushed. So the easiest way is to just not feel or say anything, or not let any emotion through. Just kind of like back into a corner and just not acknowledge the way you're feeling. But yeah,
that's hard, dude. It's like shutting down. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's My Stomach. That's the song.
That's a really, really cool concept though. That's very like visceral and visual. Like it's very like a very visual story you just told. That's really cool. Do you like consciously think about like these moments when you're writing these songs, or when you're in the production stage of them, when it comes like the live setting? So the songs, especially this EP, I mean, since this EP I've grown as a songwriter in a way that I'm writing songs not always that are super autobiographical. Not every song needs to be like a page of your diary. But all of these happen to be. And the songs very much start with like a moment in time, and normally that moment in time has some sort of like pithy phrase. Like My Stomach 100% started with "Heartbreak is a harpoon in my stomach" in my notes on my phone, maybe a day after that happened, that whole like experience, because that's just how it came to me, and I wrote that down. And then the way that song was written was my producer John sent me a beat
I loved the beat, and I just started singing to it. And sometimes I'll like go look at my phone and see if there's anything that feels like it resonates, and that line stood out. So I just let that guide me, and I wrote about that moment, wrote the song, and really, so the songs really do, like, they're an illustration of a moment in time. And then when it comes to the live show, I mean, it's really about just like selling. Selling is I don't want to make it about money.
Yeah,
but it's
like translating.
Yeah, like letting it have dynamic.
Yes.
Like a dynamic feel to it.
Okay.
Right. So like letting it build to something.
Yeah.
And
like that's just true for live as it is studio.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. I had a friend, my friend Maddie Davis, explain this to me one time. She says she structures her set in terms of like moments as well. And one thing she explained to me was like she has this number scale. So it's like she'll go like she has songs that like are 5 in energy and ones that are 1 energy, and that doesn't say like the quality of the song, yeah, but it's just like dynamically like the ones that are louder and the moments that are louder and the ones that are quieter, and she thinks about the number system, and she caters her set list via like the things that make the most sense together and like back to back. So like there'll be a 5 moment that is like the end of the set list, and like a 1 that's somewhere in the middle where people need a second to catch up, and all are equally valid and equally as dynamic, and they're like needed, but it's like when you put them in tandem in a certain order, that's where they shine the best.
Oh yeah. I always love doing a little acoustic break in my sets, in my live sets, just because I feel like it also like provides me a little bit of flexibility to do some shit that I've never done. Like I love when you can feel it at a show that something's been improvised.
Yeah.
That's something that you're getting something that no one else has ever gotten. So every set that I do, I try to like tell at least one story or do at least one like insert a run or insert something that just like is something that you will never hear again. Yeah,
that's so cool because it makes the experience individualized.
Yeah,
and it's like no one, somebody can go to like another rubber show, but they're not gonna get
exactly
like the same experience.
Yeah,
another rubber is a really hard thing to say a bunch of times. Another rubber. That's a hard thing to say. Another thing I want to ask you too about like your vocals on that kind of, and we went on a tangent there, but like about the vocals and stuff. It's like so having songs that like obviously your vocals are very, very present in the mix. They're very much at the forefront of every single one of your tracks. I found that very, very interesting, and it makes sense because you have an amazing voice. Is that like because of that? Do you track vocals ever like before you have lyrics? Are you tracking melodies at all like before you have lyrics, or are you building songs around lyrics, or what is the kind of the order at which you're like producing these songs and building out these tracks?
These songs are very lyrical.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I'm learning now that more people write melodies first and then the lyrics come second. I have always been very lyrical, so it always kind of starts with lyrics for me.
Storyteller.
Yeah, but the stuff I'm writing now is I'm very much like prioritizing melody over lyrics, which has been a fun experiment. It's a different process. And it's not always quite as cathartic. It's not always like, oh my God, I'm like, this feels like such a release about a song about my life. But it ends up serving the song a little bit better, I think, in terms of like what I think is the right way. Not that there's a right way to write songs, but these songs were definitely like lyrics. Like the lyrics come first. It was all about the story and all about the feeling, and then the melodies kind of like were just like the natural consequence of the feeling of the lyrics.
That makes sense. So it's like whatever you're, like the words you are writing, they feel like they come together melodically in a certain way. Like there's a melody that feels like lyrics.
Yeah,
that's a cool way to think about it. And I guess you can think about a lot of songs like that, but I've never really thought about it in that context.
Well, I mean, I'm a very verbose person, as you can probably tell. Like just like how I've been.
What does verbose mean? I feel like I've heard that word. Okay, I've heard that word so many times, but I've never known what it meant.
I'm just like I like to talk. I have a lot of like thoughts, and I want to get them all out.
I feel it.
And so it makes sense that words come first.
Yeah.
And I've always written poetry and short essays. Like those are like it's always been words first. But that said, the next round of songs that you're going to hear whenever they do come out are very like melodically focused. They're very it's a lot more about like the feel of the melody. And then not to say that I'm not putting energy into the lyrics
course,
and making
yeah.
them impactful. But this whole record, the Bag EP, is very like storyteller, very like, and in that way very like singer-songwriter influenced, in the sense that it's like you're right, the vocals are very present. They're it is really me getting up on the mic and being like, this is what happened to me.
Storytelling, yeah. That's super, super, super sick. I'm very, very excited to hear like the new melodic stuff. I feel like that would be very interesting, like change of pace, like to hear from you. That'd be really cool.
I'm excited to like dive into it. I've been doing a lot of writing, not just for myself, but for others over the last 6 months. And it's been a crazy year of growth.
Yeah, it's
and
beautiful.
like being exposed to like how other people write and kind of like learning the different best practices and how like people who are super successful actually approach their songwriting has been like so invaluable. So I'm super excited to just like keep on making shit.
To grow. That's the most beautiful thing in the world. Hell yeah. Thank you for doing this. This is such a fun conversation. I think like this one went a lot of cool, like unexpected ways, and your story is really sick. And it was really cool to hear it.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Tell them where they can stream Bags. Tell them where they can find you, follow you, do all the things.
Stream the Bag EP on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon Music. You can follow me at Rubber Music on TikTok or Instagram. And yeah, go give it a listen, give it a stream. Every follow counts. Thank you guys for watching.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun, my friend. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers.
Alrighty, music matters.